Hey guys, hope you're all well. I just wanted to hop on here and talk about Dylan Rounds. There's been a significant break in the case. I think I'm late to the party on this one. I did see actually early this morning that an arrest had been made, but I wanted to wait until I got my hands on the probable cause affidavit before I came live. So I've been busy today. I've been doing all the things that I've not been doing while I've been watching the Murdoch trial. So this is the first chance I've had to actually find the probable cause affidavit. So East Idaho News have got it. So this isn't breaking news because I'm quite sure that a lot of people have reported on it already. But I wanted to talk about it because I've followed Dylan's case since he first went missing. And I was talking about him a lot, actually, in the first few weeks of him being missing. So for those of you who are not entirely familiar with this case, over on Michelle After Dark, I've got a whole playlist on Dylan Rounds, so you can, catch up from the very early days all the way up to now. And I did an update video. What was it, last week or the week before? All the days meld into one. And I briefly mentioned Dylan's case in that because I knew something was brewing. I knew that something was going to happen in his case very soon. And it's no surprise who's been arrested for Dylan's murder. It's not the news anybody wanted, but given that Dylan's now been missing since May 28th, with absolutely no sign, nothing, and all the indications being that he's been murdered, then I guess it was never going to be good news. However, at least it's a relief, I think, that an arrest's been made and that now justice can move forward. I think they've got their man. I'm under no doubts whatsoever that they've got their man. So we're going to go through the probable cause affidavit, and then I'm going to read a letter that Candice, Dylan's mother, has put on the Facebook group. And then I'm going to call it a day. It's going to be a quick live, just to kind of report this. But let's wait for a few more people to come in, and I'll say a few hellos. BG, hello. Bexy, Holly, Dorothy, Dana, hopping in there with a $4 super sticker. I can't see on StreamYard what the super sticker is. Oh, it's a brew, I think. I'm not sure what it is. It's a drink. Thank you. Thank you. I've got my Pepsi Max. Shazza, Artemis, Joe, Christina, Jody, James Brenner. I know. James Brenner. They've got, even though it's not a surprise that it's Jim Brenner that's been arrested, I didn't realize that they'd actually have some real solid evidence. So that was a surprise to me. ASMR fan, Mama's Farce. Who else have we got? Karen, Down Under with Love. Late as usual, but here. Isabel, another Lancashire lass. Heard about the news a few hours ago. I hope he tells the family where he is. I know. It's horrible. Horrible. I hope he comes clean. They've got him. I mean, he's been in jail for ages anyway, hasn't he? Because of his unrelated charges. So he might as well. He's not going anywhere. Sandra, hello. Karma Police, Vicky. These Walls Have Eyes. Cecile, Cammy, Dawn, Marie, Mommy, Shady, Kelvin. I'm all right. Just catching up on all of the things that I haven't done because I've been stuck in the Murdoch trial for the last 6 weeks. So it's a bit of a relief that's over, to be honest, but watched every minute of that trial. Rambling Rome, hello, Rexy, Fiona, Boo, Grammar's Garden of Ideas. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Oh, and we've got Artemis jumping in there with a $3.99 super sticker, which is a fox. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, hope they find the body. I know. I mean, he should do the decent thing, shouldn't he? Do the decent thing. And there's no reason now. There's no reason why he cannot just come clean, plead guilty, get a deal, and tell the family where he is. And then they can bring him home. It's so sad. Anyway, I'm going to go full screen and I'm going to read through the probable cause affidavit here. It's not very long. It's only dead short. So in the First Judicial District Court, Box Elder County, State of Utah, Box Elder County. Let's just give them a shout out for being the worst, the worst in the world in the initial stages of Dylan's case. They dropped the ball big style. I mean, really big style. They could have had Jim Brenner arrested, banged to rights very early on in this case. They let him clear out that shed. They let James Brenner, right under their noses, clear out the shed. There would have been evidence in that shed. I am absolutely convinced of it. Why would he be cleaning it out otherwise? Anyway, State of Utah versus James A. Brenner. The undersigned, as prosecuting attorney, states on information and belief that the above-named defendant in Box Elder County, State of Utah, committed the following crimes. Count 1, aggravated murder, first-degree felony in violation of Utah Code on that, as follows: that on or about May 28th, 2022, the defendant did intentionally or knowingly cause the death of another, and the defendant, I, the actor, previously committed or was convicted of an offence committed, blah, 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 blah. Right, first-degree murder. Okay. So we've got first-degree murder and also count 2, abuse or desecration of a human body. Third-degree felony in violation of Utah Code. So did intentionally, unlawfully disturb, move, remove, conceal, destroy a dead body or any part of it. Starskier Rottweilers, thank you for the 10 Australian dollars. Thank you. Box Elder failed miserably. They did. Absolutely. If not for the tenacity of Candice, James would not have been arrested, I believe. It's unbelievable how strong Candice and Justin have been and how they've just plugged away, keeping Dylan's name and face out there, holding Box Elder County's feet to the fire and saying, you know, you've got to do something. Once the FBI got involved, things picked up and an investigation actually started. But yeah, if they hadn't jumped up and down and really been fantastic advocates for Dylan, yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so this is the factual basis and the probable cause statement. We get one paragraph, but it's a very impactful paragraph. The 19-year-old victim was reported as a missing person on or about May 30th, 2022. Sheriff's deputies, along with search and rescue crews, immediately got to work on efforts to locate the victim, but were unsuccessful. Well, the searches were very good, apparently, according to Candice, but yeah, key failings. During the search, deputies discovered a pair of boots belonging to the victim nearby. One boot had a blood stain. The DNA analysis confirmed belonged to the victim, in addition to DNA belonging to defendant. Now, we heard about the boots. We've known about the boots. I didn't know that Jim Brenner's DNA had also been found on those boots. I knew Dylan's blood had been found, but I didn't know that Jim Brenner's DNA had been found on them. The victim's phone records were also obtained, which showed movements on the day of his disappearance on a remote property in Lucin, where defendant was squatting. So that's the grain shed. So we knew that Dylan spoke to his grandma on the morning of May 28th, and he had a quick phone call with her very, very early in the morning and said that he had to go and put his grain truck away because it was about to rain. And the grain truck was stored in the grain shed, which wasn't on Dylan's property. It was on a neighbouring property. But the guy who owned the property, just allowed people to use his shed. So it's a big shed. And there was a gate that needed to be unlocked. And Jim Brenner, who was squatting in a trailer on this property near the grain shed, he had the key to this gate. So whether an argument had broken out, it's looking like it. It's looking like it. Okay, so we knew that Dylan had gone to the grain shed, and his phone records were consistent with that. Phone data showed that the last signal from the victim's phone was at the Lucin pond, and a search of the pond led to the discovery of the victim's phone. So we also knew that they'd found the phone. Now, this is the bit that I didn't know. A digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time-lapse video with a timestamp taken at the time of the victim's disappearance. The video showed defendant with bloodstains on his arms and shirt as he was cleaning a gun. So I think he'd taken a video by mistake, like a time-lapse video. I mean, you're not going to take a video of yourself covered in blood and cleaning a phone or cleaning a gun on the victim's phone, are you? Are you, though? What's taken Ellie so long? I don't know. Digital forensics can take a while. They've had the phone for a long time, though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it had to be sent away. You know, it was in a pond. So I don't know. I can't answer that. If he had blood on his shirt, why didn't they arrest him that day? Because they didn't know. Because they had to they found the phone. They had to go and find the phone. So they found the phone. They've had the phone ages. And then it was a digital forensic download. So we don't know any more about that. We don't know whether the phone had to be sent away because it was damaged, or I don't know. The shirt, which defendant is wearing in the video, was analysed and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. Defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence, in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. Despite a thorough investigation and extensive search, the victim's body was not recovered due to defendant removing and concealing it. And that's it. That's all we get for now. So that's just the charges. Take this summons with you to the jail. I don't know what's taking them so long. It's a very, very good question. It's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, they were in no rush. I think you're right, though. I think it took so long as James Brenner was in custody and they were getting all the ducks in a row before serving an arrest warrant. I think they were probably hoping that Dylan's body would turn up before they made the arrest, because Jim Brenner's not going anywhere. He's been in jail for months now and he's not going anywhere. So I guess they could take the time. Excuse me. You know, this is going to be a no-body homicide case, and district attorneys prefer to have a body, but you don't need a body. You don't need a body for a prosecution by any stretch of the imagination. And that's pretty strong evidence, in my opinion. Pretty strong evidence. You know, he's got to be able to explain why Dylan's DNA was on his shirt and why he had bloodstains on his arms and his shirt. I mean, why on earth was there this time-lapse video? I think he must have. I don't know. He must have taken a video by mistake. You know, and it's obviously going to be that video that catches him. Yeah, he must have shot him, yeah. Yeah. If he's cleaning his gun, then yeah, he shot him. He was only 19, yeah. 19 when he went missing. Only 19, it's no age, is it? It's amazing the video was captured. I know. I mean, we've had, you know, we've had the Murdoch saga and 6 weeks worth of testimony. And it appears that the jury were most persuaded by that 50-second video that Paul Murdoch took. The kennel video that Paul Murdoch was taking 4 minutes before he was murdered, that had Alec Murdoch's voice on it. If it hadn't have been for that kennel video, the whole case would have been very, very, very different. And I don't think a jury would have been convinced. 6 weeks of testimony, and they focused on the kennel video, as I did, as we all did. Excuse me. So is this going to be another case where, you know, just a short video basically captures a perpetrator, not quite in the act, but in such a compromising position with clear evidence that they were there? Paul solved his own murder. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. So in this case, if Jim Brenner accidentally took a video on Dylan's phone, you know, didn't know how to use it properly, and accidentally put a video on, put it down, and there he is, captured on video. Isn't that just the most beautiful irony? You know, the fact that you've just murdered somebody and you've still got blood on your shirt and on your arms, and you're cleaning your gun and you're videoing yourself doing it. I mean, you know, you kind of think, I wish I was a fly on the wall, you know, in that office, you know, the first officer that sees that video, like the first officer that saw Paul Murdoch's video, and you think, yes, I've got him. I've got him. I've actually got some real evidence. And I think that's very powerful. I really do. I think it's very powerful. And I when's Jim in court? I don't know when Jim's in court. I don't know whether because the Utah courts tend to use WebEx. Now, there has been some dramas regarding Utah courts and WebEx because of Jared Leisig. I don't know whether you know this story, but you know, Jared Leisig from Adventures with Purpose, who's appearing in court on SA charges from way back in the past. I've still not cleaned this room, and it still makes me cough every time I come in here. I need to clean this room. It's full of dust. But they, yeah, they were, they had a court appearance on WebEx, and a number of YouTubers were streaming it. So they're now not allowing people to stream WebEx. Not that people should have been streaming it anyway, but so even if you can watch it, you won't be able to stream it. But you can just download WebEx and then watch it yourself. But yeah, as I said, I wasn't planning on being on here very long. But before I sign off, I just want to show you this from Dylan's mother, Candice Cooley. And this is on the Justice for Dylan Rounds Facebook page. We'd like to take a minute to thank, oh, hold on a minute, that's from February the 7th. Where's the new one? Huh. I'm going to show you this one anyway. I thought this was a new post. I don't understand Facebook. Why does it do this to us? Hold on, just a second. Oh, it's not on. I'll read it. I'll read you this. I thought this was on Facebook, but East Idaho News have got it. But I still want to show you that letter, even though it's not brand new. So this is from Candice speaking to East Idaho News. Justin and I would like to thank everyone for the support you have shown us as we focus on finding answers in the disappearance of Dylan. James Brenner has been listed as the official suspect since July 2022. The charges are based on solid evidence that has been released by Box Elder. We ask you to continue your thoughts and prayers for justice for Dylan and that we can bring him home. So, yeah, so sad. But even though this isn't new, I'm going to read you this letter anyway. So I would like to take a minute to thank everyone who continues to send us the most kind, thoughtful, and absolutely amazing tributes in regard to Dylan. They will always remain a treasure to us and will remind us of how much our son has touched this world. The letter below is from a very kind couple in Utah that also offered their help. I believe this will help everyone understand what Dylan sees in the land. They see it through the same eyes. So this is a letter that was sent in by someone. So in mid-December, we returned to Little Pigeon Mountain to camp overnight. We hadn't returned there since May 27th and June 4th and 5th of last year, the night before Dylan went missing. and your first big search for him the following weekend. We had quickly realised then that returning to Little Pigeon would never feel the same for us. This time, we threw out our tent near where we camped the night of May 27th and again could see Dylan's farm. We vividly recalled seeing the tractor working the land as we approached the mountain that evening. So this was Dylan's last evening on Earth. And this person saw him working the land on that Friday night. So sad. The bright lights of someone on the farm well after dark, and we recalled the hellacious rains that drove in early that morning of the 28th. We pondered the unimaginable turn of events that must have taken place within a matter of hours last May. We reminisced about our going back to help search for a missing young man a week later, whom we didn't know, but who shared a love of an area we find special to us. That was reason enough for us to come. We clearly recall seeing up close the extreme sadness, helplessness, and worry in your eyes and those of your family. We also sense yours is a tenacious family. In December, as I walked around our little campsite, enjoying my morning cup of coffee, I stumbled upon a small rock outcrop that caught my attention because it wasn't limestone, which that mountain is comprised of. I picked up 2 small pieces of rock that had broken away. As I carried them in my hand, I thought perhaps I would keep them as mementos, a tiny connection to Dylan and your family, and our minor involvement in this whole unforgettable situation. However, I soon realised it would be better if I could create something for you that might serve as a touchstone of Dylan's connection to the land that he so dearly loved. Although Little Pigeon isn't part of his farm, it's just at the margin of his land and overlooks it. It certainly is in Dylan's proverbial backyard and a very common sight for him. As I cut the rocks, I quickly ran into disappointment as the rocks were brittle and fractured easily. Cutting the rock was fraught with uncharacteristic problems. Getting a rock to the Getting a rock to the stage where it could be polished was tough. 2 of the first 3 small pieces quickly broke. I was finally able to get the last stone cut and polished, only for it to break afterward. With nothing left of the first rock, I cut 3 small pieces from the second rock. 1 broke before polishing. At that point, I was so disheartened and frustrated that I had to set everything aside, wondering if my futile efforts were going to produce anything but disappointment and aggravation. Oh, this room is so dusty. I had to step back for a while, realising I needed to approach things differently with the remaining 2 stones. Eventually, I was able to successfully get them cut and polished. Even wrapping the stones seemed to offer their own crazy set of challenges, making me wonder if perhaps my intention wasn't meant to be. I draw some analogies. These first two small polished stones aren't strikingly beautiful. In fact, most would consider them nondescript, if not downright ugly, similar to how most people view the land around Lucin. But Dylan learnt to love the area in a way that few people can, because he interacted intimately with it and saw how the soil is but a small piece of what makes the place so attractive. He wasn't intimidated by it and faced its challenge head on. He witnessed God's fury in the heat and wind and cold. The country has a different character in each season. Dylan recognised the land's potential, and with hard work, patience, love, and doubtless many tears, his farm became a testimony that beauty can arise from something that people consider ugly and or without potential. I thought that was really touching that somebody sent that in to Candice. And there's the rock. That is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a small connection to Dylan that person had. There's a little bit more here. Like these small stones that stood out from all that limestone around them, Dylan stood out among everyone around him. He was in no way common. He was definitely a unique individual, mature beyond his years, desirous to face life on his own terms, and driven by a burning passion to farm. May these stones serve as touchstones of your beloved Dylan and the connection he had to the land around Lucin. I know you've begun to appreciate the area in some small way as you've spent countless hours and have walked countless miles there. The harsh, barren land takes time to understand, but eventually it affords opportunity for unencumbered introspection, solitude, and the occasional reward of a magnificent sunset. So touching. Little memento. So it wasn't the answer. It wasn't the answer that anybody wanted. It wasn't. We didn't want it to be this way, although clearly, it was only a matter of time for James Brenner. And I'm just glad that they've got something solid, something that a jury would be persuaded by. You know, we've seen a little 50-second video take down a Murdoch in Murdoch country. So to me, James Brenner does not have a leg to stand on if a video that he accidentally took, and I can only assume it was accidental, actually filmed him with blood on him. Dylan's blood. Forensic testing showed it was Dylan's blood. He's got to plead guilty. Only an absolute fool would not plead guilty. And maybe the court could offer some small leniency if he tells the family where he put Dylan. It's a gift. It absolutely is a gift. Yeah, he was amazing. Amazing for 19 years old, farming out there on his own. And some absolute lowlife takes all that away from him. Well, isn't that just justice? Isn't that just some rough justice for Jim Brenner? Isn't it? It is heartwarming that people reach out like that. It really is. I wonder if Dylan took the video. Has anyone seen it? I don't know. But how would Dylan be taking the video? Because if Dylan's blood was on his shirt, on Jim Brenner's shirt, how would Dylan be taking the video? Unless he was taking a video when Jim attacked him and the video just kept playing. But no, the video's in evidence. No one's seen it. Well, it's not been released. I don't know whether the family will have seen it. Dylan could have taken a video of an altercation and it ran on. Dylan's spirit took the video. Dylan might have taken the video while injured without Brenner knowing. Yeah, absolutely. And And that truly would be one absolutely amazing individual to have the presence of mind to do that. Whichever way it is, whether it was Dylan that took that video or whether it was Jim that didn't know how to work a phone and accidentally turn a video on. I don't know. Whichever way it was, it's a gift. It's a gift. He did seem like a very wise kid, yeah. Yeah. Just like Libby German. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the bridge video. I mean, we'll find out these details. You know, because the full you know, the full video, if somebody takes it while an altercation's going on, then it's a very different type of video, isn't it, than one that somebody, you know, after they've murdered you know, and they've got your phone and they're messing about with it and they've accidentally turned the video on. Yeah, Libby was very smart doing that, yeah. Very smart. Yeah, it is. It is heartbreaking. But I think we weren't under any illusion after all this time. You know, Dylan hadn't just run away and, you know, was living the high life somewhere. I think it was obvious that that wasn't going to be the answer to this at all. Yeah, Mel, like Paul Murdoch's kennel video, Dylan might have helped solve his own murder. Yeah. And like Libby as well in the Delphi. These kids nowadays are amazing with technology. It doesn't take anything to turn a video on, though. I mean, because you don't even have to. Like, I've got an iPhone, and you don't have to unlock it to put the camera on. I don't think you do. I have to go and test it. Absolutely, Mel. Dylan Rose would never have run away. Yeah, but if his parents hadn't been so tenacious with Box Elder, you know, they might have run with that. Oh, he's just run away, or you know, he's a grown man. He could do what he wants. So you have to unlock yours. I might have to unlock mine. To be honest, I don't think I've even tried. No, you don't have to unlock. Everybody's trying it now, aren't they? Because the camera comes up on your lock screen. So if you just click your camera, but will it video? That's the thing. I've never tried. So whichever way, whether Dylan was holding his phone and just managed to turn his video on, or whether Jim, messing about with Dylan's phone, turned the video on, whichever way, it's an absolute gift. And, you know, justice works in mysterious ways sometimes. Dustbuster time. Yeah, I don't like cleaning. So a room that I don't use very often. I only ever come in here. It's like a junk room. It's like tons of junk in it. I only come in here when I'm doing live streams. Like, I like doing live streams in here because it's quiet. Use it for quickness. The reason why I'm not sure is because I have Face ID. So when I lift my phone up to make a video, it unlocks because I've got Face ID. So I never have to try to do it from the lock screen. So, and then that's just an iPhone. I don't know what other phones are like. Absolutely, Linda. Housework is a wasted life. It is. It is. Dylan's parents didn't give up. The Box Elder law enforcement was a disgrace in this case. They were. It was a shambles until the FBI got involved, and then things started to move. Things started to move very quickly. Box Elder could have had Jim Brenner banged to rights, arrested with way more evidence. It's just fortunate. It's fortunate that that video is there. You know, how many cases go unsolved because there's evidence, but not enough to convince a judge to sign an arrest warrant, or not enough to take someone in, you know, for that, you know, bit of extra questioning. It's just not enough. But in this case, there wouldn't have been anything if Jim Brenner had got rid of that phone properly and it wasn't in Lucin Pond, you'd just thrown it in the pond thinking that it was unrecoverable. Obviously not very technologically minded, but hey ho, lucky he wasn't. But yeah, so sad. When did the video emerge? I don't know. It's the first any of us is hearing about it, because the probable cause affidavit was only released today. So the arrest was, it would have been like very, very late last night, my time. I saw the news this morning when I woke up. So it probably came out overnight, my time. But the probable cause affidavit, I've only just got my hands on it. Because East Idaho News shared it. Actually shared it this morning, but I'd only got around to like finding it and reading it today, right, about an hour ago. So for those just coming in, let's just read this one more time. So this is the probable cause affidavit that Box Elder County have put together. Just read this one more time and then I'm going to sign off. So, factual basis, probable cause statement. 19-year-old victim was reported as a missing person on or about May 30th, 2022. Sheriff's deputies, along with search and rescue crews, immediately got to work on efforts to locate the victim, but were unsuccessful. During the search, deputies discovered a pair of boots belonging to the victim nearby. So the boots were found like the first day next to the dirt pile near the grain shed. During the search, deputies discovered, I've read that. One boot had a blood stain that DNA analysis confirmed belonged to the victim, in addition to DNA belonging to defendant. And Box Elder didn't even send the boots away. They said they were going to, and then it took Candice hammering at them about the boots for them to bother to send it for DNA testing. The victim's phone records were also obtained, which showed movements on the day of his disappearance on a remote property in Lucin, where defendant was squatting. So that's the property where the grain shed was at. Phone data showed that the last signal from the victim's phone was at Lucin Pond, and a search of the pond led to the discovery of the victim's phone. A digital forensic download of the phone was conducted and led to the discovery of a time-lapse video with a timestamp taken at the time of the victim's disappearance. So it's very vague. We don't know what timestamp this video had on it. Presumably it would have been the 28th of May, but we don't know. The video showed defendant with blood stains on his arms and shirt as he was cleaning a gun. The shirt which defendant is wearing in the video was analysed and the victim's DNA was found on the shirt. So he'd not even thrown the shirt away. He'd not even thrown the shirt away. Defendant was interviewed and made several claims that corroborated forensic evidence, in addition to making numerous demonstrably false statements. Despite a thorough investigation and extensive search, the victim's body was not recovered due to defendant removing and concealing it. So Jim Brenner needs to start talking. Thank you, Cecile, for the $4.99 and the jumping. I don't know what he is, little robot or something. It's kind of cute, that one. Oh, sunflowers. Oh, yes. Oh. Sunflowers for Dylan. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Absolutely. I think he kept Dylan's hat. Yeah, there's a picture of him with a hat that's the same as Dylan's, but I mean, maybe there's loads of those hats. It depends when that photo of Jim Brenner was taken. The video game controller. Tried Dylan's boots on for size. He probably did, you know. He probably did. That's horrible. Yeah, he probably did. And that'll be why they moved. And then he thought, oh, they don't fit. I'll just throw them down here near this rubbish pile. Yeah, started a promising life. You know, he wanted to buy more land. He wanted to make that land around there fertile again. And just some absolute lowlife just snuffed out his life. A taker in every sense. Absolutely, Artemis. Yeah. Absolutely. A time-lapse video is a series of photos. There won't be audio. Still great evidence. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever used the time-lapse feature on my phone. That's why Brenner's DNA is on the boots, because he tried them on. Yeah, I bet he did. I bet you any money he did. But at least he's one of those criminals that was really stupid, because he didn't get rid of that phone, and he didn't even get rid of his bloodstained shirt. But these stupid criminals, you know, we need them. We need them. What happened to all the money Dylan had been paid? Was it accounted for? Yes, I think it was. I think it was accounted for, yeah. Because there was a lot of talk about that in the early days. I remember talking about that in the early days. And I think Candice did. If I remember rightly, and I'm going back to like last summer, if I remember rightly, I think she said that it had been accounted for. Karma in a video on Dylan's phone. Absolutely. Both Paul and now Dylan helped solve their own murders. Yeah. Yeah. And Libby. Let's not forget Libby German from the Delphi case. She's also helped solve her own murder as well. That video of Bridge Guy, you know, got his image on there and his voice. Stupidity for the win. We do love a good bit of stupidity. You know, it's what keeps the courts ticking. Makes justice possible in cases where there's not that much evidence, because there's no body. Stupidity comes through every single time. Heard the phone was found in the pond that was drained on the farm. Yes, it was. Yeah, Lucin Pond. Yeah, they drained the pond and got the phone. Got the phone. Yeah. That's 3 cases so far, yeah. 3 cases where potentially the videos are the key to the case. The absolute key to the case. I mean, going back to Murdoch, and I know people are sick of Murdoch now. I'm sick of Murdoch now. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but go and watch it. If you're interested in psychology, I did a psychology of familicide video this morning. I've actually been working on it for a couple of days, but I uploaded it this morning. On it's not just on Murdoch. There's some Watts in there. I've got Anthony Tote in there. I've got John List in there. So yeah, go and watch it. Little bit of a deep dive. When did they find the phone? We don't know when they found the phone. The phone, it's a long time ago. I remember Candice telling, I think she released it on East Idaho News, one of those interviews she did with Nate Eaton. I can't remember exactly when that was. And she probably did say, but I just can't remember. But how long it took that phone to be analysed, I don't know. Oh, thank you, Elise. Glad you liked it. I put quite a bit of work into it. It's weird. It's weird that videos that I do on the spur of the moment, and you know, I just record my thoughts on something. Just sometimes they really take off and they get loads of views, and then a video that I put a lot of work into gets like a fraction of. I guess that's just YouTube. But yeah, that's just YouTube for you. Yeah, that was the thing that was going round, and no, I'm 99% sure that Candice had said that the money had been accounted for. I'm 99% sure. I'm going to have to go back and like relearn the case. Now we've got an arrest and it's going to be moving forward, you know, through the court system. Then I'll go back and refresh myself on the facts. Also tired of Murdoch. 6 weeks of it, yeah. But that video, the psychology familicide, wasn't about Murdoch. I mean, yeah, Murdoch was in it. I waited to release it today so that I could put a clip in from the sentencing. But it's about familicide. It's just using Murdoch as an example, Chris Watts as an example, John List as an example, and Anthony Tote. Just as examples. It's actually about psychology rather than, you know, a particular person. How old is James Brenner? I did know the answer to that. I think he's 60 something. I want to say 62, but I might be wrong by a little bit of a margin. But he's an older guy. Oh, thank you, Brenda. Very kind of you. Ah, husband listened to it. She did an interview 11 days ago. No, I think when she said they found the phone, it was a while ago. And I'm sure it was one of those interviews she did with East Idaho News. Like I said, I'm going to have to go back and re-watch everything from this case because I've not, even though I did a small update on Dylan recently, I haven't actually looked at the details, you know, knowing when something happened, those little details that on certain cases I can just rhyme off, you know, like Summer Wells, I can rhyme off dates, and because I've covered that case so much that the dates and when such a body was doing such a thing, I remember, simply because it's there ingrained in my brain. Whereas a case that you've not really, you know, some cases like this case, Michael Vaughan's case, you know, they go quiet for quite a while, and then, you know, you have to refresh your memory on them. So now we've got this arrest, and that's going to move forward. Then I'll refresh my memory on the details of the when, you know, things were. How Fox said James Brenner is 59. Okay, he looks older than that. Maybe it's the other dude who's in his early 60s. What was it? Kurt. I had 62 in my head for a reason. But yay, Bug Love's in the house. Like up the stream, like it up. Yeah, creepy guy. Yeah. And he, you know, he's had a violent past. He's got convictions for violence. So whatever triggered him that day, who knows? We'll probably never know, unless James Brenner gives a full confession. Hasn't been anything on Summer Wells recently. No, there hasn't. The only things that come out on Summer now is you know, what Candice and Donna are up to. He does look a lot older. Jay thought 63. I really thought he was 62, but hey. It was shape ugly. The beard makes him look older. Maybe. What's Kurt's last name? Wadsworth. Kurt Wadsworth. They found the phone early investigation. They did. It was very early, but it wasn't, the information wasn't released straight away. Wouldn't be surprised, since Brenner wasn't tech savvy, that he tried to turn the phone off. Yeah. And when doing so, inadvertently turned on the feature of time lapse. Wouldn't that be beautifully, absolutely beautifully ironic, if a criminal who's just committed a murder has been so bad at doing said murder that they film themselves cleaning themselves up? Hey. I don't know. I don't know, Becca. Like, Jim wanted part of the income. I know Jim did a little bit of work for Dylan. I don't know. Sometimes, you know, a guy that has got a temper just kicks off for like next to nothing, and it gets out of hand, and the worst possible thing happens. It is poetic justice, Nikki. It really is. It really is. Ironic and moronic, yeah. Cammy, Kurt is 62. Oh, there you go. It's Kurt that's 62. I knew one of them was 62. I knew there was a 62-year-old in this case. Brenner said his DNA was on the boots because he found them and moved them to keep them dry. Oh, I remember that now. So I did know that there was DNA on the boots. Yeah, I don't believe. I bet he tried them on. They didn't fit, so he threw them away. And that's why they were on the dirt pile, or next to the dirt pile. It's because there was a gate to get to the grain shed, and Brenner put a lock on it. Dylan was trying to get his grain in the shed. Yeah, it's something to do with that. I think an argument broke out because of that gate. Because Dylan was, if he wanted to get in and the gate was locked, he was taking the fence down. So maybe Dylan couldn't get through, took the fence down, and that kicked Jim off. But it wasn't Jim's property. So I don't know why Jim was territorial about this gate. It wasn't his property. He was just staying on a trailer on that property because the owner let him. Arguments about the lock. Yeah. You wouldn't think he did anything spectacular to hide the body. I know, but you see, the thing is, that area is so desolate and vast. And there's loads like mines and washes and, you know, just so many places where you could just dump a body. And then, not meaning to sound grim, but there's a lot of wildlife out there that will very quickly take a body. So wherever Jim left Dylan's body might not be there now, because nature is a very cruel cleanser. So, you know, team the wildlife with the place just being vast and very, very difficult to search, you've got a problem, you know. And there's been a lot of people out there now looking for Dylan. Like EquiSearch went out there looking for him a while ago. Did they look under the trailer? I think they've run dogs all over that, you know, the immediate vicinity. So I'm guessing a dog would have alerted if he'd been buried under, you know, somewhere so obvious. Dylan bought the land and Brenner was a squatter who refused to leave. No, Shelley. No. The grain shed wasn't on Dylan's farm. The grain shed was on the neighbouring property. But the owner of that property let Dylan use the grain shed. But he also let Jim Brenner live in a trailer near the grain shed. So the land that the grain shed was on wasn't Dylan's, but nor was it Jim Brenner's. So Jim Brenner had no right. If Dylan had got permission to use that grain shed from the owner, Jim Brenner had no right putting a lock on the gate. But, you know, whatever dispute there was should not have resulted in a young man losing his life. That's basically what it comes down to. Why would Brenner kill him? Got into an argument. I mean, how many murders occur when people, you know, didn't go out that day to commit a murder, but an argument breaks out, it gets heated. Jim Brenner had a temper. He got convictions in the past that involve violence, and he saw red. That's what I'm guessing. Harry Potter's beard. Did Chris Watt's wife and children's body ever get found? Yeah. Chris told them where they were. Chris told them where they were. They were murdered on the 13th of August, and on the 15th of August, Chris failed a polygraph dismally and cracked under pressure and told them exactly where they were. So yeah, they were found. They were the 16th. The little girls were taken out of the oil tanks. So this wasn't premeditated. Well, it depends what you mean by premeditated, because if somebody picks up a gun and aims it, that is considered premeditation, because you have a choice to put that gun down. You have a choice not to press the trigger. So it's still considered premeditation. That's been talked about at length in the Murdoch trial as well. Oh dear, that Murdoch trial keeps coming back. Watts is another piece of garbage, absolute garbage. But at least he didn't drag it out. At least he crumbled under the tiniest bit of pressure. At least he did the decent thing, you know, amidst 3 murders and also the causing the death of his unborn child, which wasn't classed as murder under Colorado law. You know, that's terrible and horrible. What he did to those bodies, what he did to those little girls, absolutely dreadful. But at least he came clean and took his punishment. So there's that. Cecile, thank you for the $4.99 yet again. Didn't Brenner say sinkholes were the perfect place to hide a body? Apparently he did, yes. Apparently he did. But where? I mean, I bet there's loads of sinkholes and, you know, old places that somebody who's been out there for years would know. But yeah, you're right. He did say that. Or something along those lines. Or I think he said the wash. The wash is a perfect place to hide a body. I think it was a wash, he said. But they've been searching the washes, but they're just these things are so vast. I don't know, because it wasn't Dylan's land. So Dylan wasn't going to evict him because it wasn't his land. So I don't know. If Jim was getting evicted, then why was he taking it out on Dylan? I honestly think it was some ridiculous argument that Jim engaged in and ended up seeing red. Ah, oops, wrong one. That one. Ah, that's lovely. My neighbours grow sunflowers every year. I've tried to grow sunflowers and they get to a point where they're, you know, little plants and then they die. So I've never been able to actually grow sunflowers. I'm rubbish at growing plants though, but my neighbours grow them, so Chris Watts was a terrible criminal. He was another really stupid criminal. You know, an absolute gift. An absolute gift for the criminal justice system. Do you think Dylan's close to the properties really far away? What, Dylan's body? Well, you see, Jim Brenner, he had 2 days to decide where to go with the body. Assuming that the murder happened on the 28th, Dylan wasn't reported missing until the 30th. So he had a couple of days, so he could have driven a few hours away. So I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Racking my brain as to which case involved bodies dropped down a cave. It's Susan Powell that you may be thinking of. It's likely that her body was dropped down an old mine shaft. That's kind of the theory that has kind of been the one that's been worked on. But there's numerous mine shafts that have been investigated, and she's never been found. And is that 12 years? Maybe even be longer now. 10, 12 years at least. Maybe Dylan wanted to buy the land. I knew that he wanted to, you know, extend and buy more land, but I don't know whether that was going to be in the near future or even whether he would evict Jim. You know what? We can only speculate. I don't think any of us will know the answer to that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It could be. It could be. I mean, you know, if you drive an hour out from Lucin, it's just a vast area. Or Jim could have put him somewhere very close, but wildlife. You know, the wildlife out there. Yeah, the Watts house has been sold, hasn't it? Would you live in that house? Personally, no. Personally, I wouldn't. But I guess if you get a house, you're not worried about that kind of thing, and you get it for a good price, then I guess. I'd be concerned about people coming, like, you know, that still considering it some kind of tourist attraction. I'd be as concerned about that as I would be that Shanann Watts was murdered in that house. It'd be the tourist attraction element that I wouldn't want. Like, everybody knows your address. You know, I'd find that really weird. That's right. That's right, yeah. Dropped in a cave. One of the little boys said that it was a cave. But would a little tiny boy, would he confuse a cave with a mine? But even so, you know, there's caves that are really deep. So whether it's a mine, a cave, whatever, it's so difficult to find when you've got nothing to go off. But yeah, I mean, that should never have happened, that. You know, Josh Powell should never have been allowed to take those boys. I feel sorry for the child CPS worker. I felt a bit sorry for her because she tried to raise the alarm and then he just blew the house up. It's a horrible case, that. Horrible case. I mean, he could have realized that Jim was on one and just turned his video on. Possible. It is. The Powell case is awful. Yeah, I've read the probable cause affidavit twice, but I did see what Nate Eaton posted. Yeah, it's on this. Is it on this one or the other one? Yeah, it's that one. But he only said kind of what I've gone through on this video. But he read through the probable cause affidavit. I'll put a link in the description and I'll put it in the chat as well. So if you want to go and watch the video, I think it's about 17 minutes. Nate Eaton sat in his house. The Christmas party case. Which one's that? I don't know what that one is. Christmas party case. What's the name of either a victim or the perp Give me a bit of a clue. Yeah. I mean, it's just horrible, isn't it? Imagine that. He take two little boys for a visit with their dad, and he takes them and then blows the house up. It's awful. Oh no, I know it's not the house's fault. I mean, you know, plenty of people wouldn't have a problem with that house. Covina massacre. I don't know that case. I'm curious now. We're gonna have to look it up. Covina massacre. Covina massacre was a mass murder carried out on Christmas Eve by a disgruntled ex-husband in Los Angeles County. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo was wearing a Santa costume, entered a property belonging to his former in-laws in Covina, and killed 9 people either by shooting or arson. I don't know about this case. How do I not know this case? I'm only reading off Wikipedia. You know, like this is the guy. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo. I didn't know about that case. Wow. I've probably watched somebody talk about it at some point, but it doesn't ring any bells. That's weird. Huh. Well, thank you. I'll go and watch some videos on that now. Yeah, you've not heard about it either. No, it's not one that. Yeah, it's not one that I'm going to have to go and I should do a video. I'll probably look up Covina Massacre on YouTube and there'll be like about 25 videos, like from really prominent YouTubers who've all covered it, and I've just missed it. Covina Massacre. Well, you give me something to look at tonight, so that's good, isn't it? B names. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I said I wasn't going to be on here long, and there we go. I'm on like an hour and 20 minutes. Hey, thankful that once we could finally buy. Oops, jumped. We could finally buy a house. I knew the entire history of it from 1894 to now. Yeah, it's good to know, isn't it? Like, I know, like, my grandparents lived in this house from when it was new. It was built in 1957. And then when my granddad died and my nan moved out in the 1990s, somebody lived in it who I don't know. I don't know who lived in it after my nan moved out. And then my the current next door neighbour's son lived in it. And then I lived in it. I bought it back. So there's only one person I don't know who lived there, who lived in this house. Anyway, I'm going to go waffling now. All right, guys. So, yeah, let's pray for swift justice. Let's hope that Jim Brenner does the decent thing, pleads guilty, tells the family where Dylan is, and that Dylan can be recovered and brought home for dignity and for closure. All right, guys. Thank you for being very respectful and polite and very nice. My chats have gone back to nice and friendly now that we're not talking about Nicola Bully and we've not got a lot of trolls in it. All very nice now. Thank you for the donations. Thank you as always to the mods, and I'll see you very soon. Bye, guys.